Welcome everybody. In today's class we are going to be going over the hip capsule. This is going to be a 25-minute class. So it's going to be fairly short and sweet and give you a good fundamental routine that will help you open up better workspace in your hips, grease up those joints, learn to move them better, a little self-assessment along the way, and we're going to come out of this really having hips that work nice and do the hip stuff we want them to do. So for this class you're going to need 2 yoga blocks, 2 tennis balls, 1 PVC pipe, and a chair. If you don't have a PVC pipe, use a broomstick. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can probably get away with just some towels, fold it up, something similar like that. And if you don't have a chair, I don't know what to tell you on that one. You should have a chair. It's pretty couch, stool, something. You just need something to sit on for that one. So we're going to go ahead and get into things. Even though we are starting with the hips and focusing on the hips, I like to give a little general warm up to the rest of the body, so we're going to go through this fairly quick. We're only going to hit shoulder blades, spine, pelvis, and hips as a warm up, and then everything else will be hip specific along the way. So what we're going to do for the scapulas is we're going to just open our hands on these tennis balls here. So from the side, the tennis balls are sitting right in the middle of the meat of my thighs, and then we're going to have open palms on the tennis balls. The biggest thing that we want to do here is ensure that bracing is correct. So we're going to take our hands, grab the soft spot underneath the ribs and above the hip bones, like you're kind of pushing yourself in, similar to like where a corset would sit, and suck everything in. So from here, we're going to take a breath in, we're going to take a breath out, and then we're going to flex. So I'll show you guys that again and talk through it a little bit more. So what we're trying to do is push in, and as we breathe in, you should feel it swell out into the hands. And as you exhale, we want to feel that sink in. Once all the air is gone, we tighten the lower abs, and then we flex everything, and you should feel like the core kind of bounces into your hands or inflates into your hands, and that is the bracing that we want to keep throughout everything that we do for this class. So we set the bracing in the core, we're going to squeeze the butt, hands are on our tennis balls, and now we go for real on the shoulders. So I'm going to stand sideways for this. So my neck is nice and straight. I'm going to push my shoulder blades forward just about as far as they'll let me go. From here, we're going to shrug up and forward. As soon as we get to the top, we're going to retract the shoulder blades backwards, cracking the imaginary walnut between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to reach down and back with the shoulder blades, still keeping that squeeze. And we should feel some good tension build up around our shoulder blades. From here, we're going to reverse it. So we pull backwards again, even if we think we're already maxed out. We think about that squeeze between the shoulder blades as we come back up with the shoulder blades into our ears. We push forward at the top, gliding the scapulas across the back. And then we keep that forward effort as we reach down to the fingertips. And then we'll go backwards again. So we retract backwards down low. We keep it squeezed as we shrug up. Once we get to the top, we push forward. From the forward position, we keep the forward effort as we go down. And then from here, I like to just pull backwards, squeeze, push forward, squeeze, backwards, squeeze, forward, squeeze, and then just kind of shake it out and relax. Greasing up the shoulder blades. From here, we're going to go through the spine. So this is where the tennis balls are going to leave us. We're going to take 1 yoga block and put it between the legs. And then we're going to take this second yoga block and it's just going to kind of sit on the chest. Nothing crazy here as far as how we hold this. We're not going to squeeze it super crazy tight. We are going to think about bracing the core nice and strong. So just like we did before, we take a breath in, we take a breath out, we brace the core at the bottom, our lower abs should feel strong, all this should be locked in all the way around. Now, from a side view here, how we're going to start this movement is first we're going to scoop the butt. That way this lower part of us is nice and locked in. The chin is going to tuck down to the chest. And then from here, we're going to think about crunching 1 segment at a time. As if you were going to peel your spine off the wall. 1 piece at a time from the top down, as we try to own and control this segmentation of our upper back. We're going to take this crunch down until we feel like we've kind of maxed out, and we'll feel the core get tight. We'll really start to create like an active stretch on the back. We should feel that open up. And then once we hit the bottom, we're going to hold that tension, and then we twist. So we're going to turn the chest and the yoga block all together to the right. And you're going to take that rotation just about as far as you can possibly go. Big twist there, breathe into it, tighten up the core. And then from here, with this rotation, we're going to go right into a side bend. So we flex the right side of the core and the body as we bend over, and we stretch the left side of the body. And we should feel all that cool stuff happening. From here, we keep the side bend, and then we just start to extend backwards. So I'll change my position so that y'all can see this. So we're going to squeeze the butt. We think lower back as we lean backwards. And then we imagine we're bending back from the lowest part of the spine up into the highest part of the spine. Piece by piece. We break open the rib cage, one rib at a time. As we extend, we lift the chest, we lift the collarbones. We gently let the head fall backwards a little extra, flexing into the upper back. We lift the elbows at the very end, and then we carry the rotation all the way around to the left. Now once we've maxed out the rotation to the left, we side bend to the left, again taking advantage of all that core stuff. And then from here we just crunch kind of down and at this angle, and we're just going to control our crunch as we end up back to where we started. And then we're going to change directions again. So we go back where we came from, so we twist to the left. We then side bend to the left, crunching the left side of the core, stretching the right side of the core. We're then going to go right into extension. So the butt's nice and tight, and then we start to think lower back, piece by piece as we extend. And then we go to the bottom rib cage, creeping through the rib cage, piece by piece. Bottom ribs, middle ribs, upper ribs, we bend everything backwards. We start to straighten up into a nice clean center position as we max out our extension. This is where the elbows lift up. This is where we lift the collarbones, we lift the heart, we try to create a bend high in the upper back, and then we rotate to the right to finish this up. Big twist going around to that right side. We'll take that as far as we can go, and then we're going to tuck the chin and just start to crunch back down, completing this spinal controlled articular rotation, and then we will relax at the bottom. Now we're only doing one rep for today's class because we want to focus on the hips. And I want to keep this at that 25-minute mark, so this is not an unrealistic class for you to do on your own. Now we're going to go into the pelvis. So for the pelvis, I'm going to kind of ball up the shirt in my hand over here to the side, kind of tuck it in my waist, so y'all can see this. So my hands are on my hips. So we're holding the hip bones, and what we're going to be trying to do here is just flip the pelvis back and forth. So the lower abs are nice and tight, and what we're going to do is keep the fingers on the hip bones in the front, thumbs on the hip bones in the back, and then the fingers in the front are going to push the hip bones down and forward as the thumbs drag up on the back, and that's going to cue us to kind of flip the butt back and show it off behind us. As we do this, we want to think about strong legs on the ground, so everything stays nice and connected. And then we're going to scoop underneath us. We scoop the pelvis, we squeeze the butt, we really try to take it under us, when we're trying to almost feel a stretch in the front of the hips as we do that. And then we change directions again. We slowly scoop tailbone back, we flex into that lower back a little bit as we attempt to find a good connection here. And then we reverse it as we scoop underneath us, squeeze the butt cheeks, feel that kind of pull, stretchy feeling in the front of the hips, and we use our hands as needed to guide the pelvis where we want it to go. And then we go one more. We flip the pelvis, we squeeze the lower back, we squeeze the legs, we try to own the connections to this tissue. The lower back is trying to work as clean as it can. We're not trying to smash anything. And then we finish with one more scoop underneath us. Hip bones on the front get pulled up, bones on the back get pushed down, commanding the pelvis to tilt where we want it to, and then we relax from there. Last thing we're gonna go through is the hip cars. Now we're gonna do these as an axial today instead of a full hip car, because again, this is a short and sweet routine. So we are gonna hold on to our PVC pipe for balance. I'm gonna be standing on my left leg, working the right leg to start. I'm gonna move this over here so it's a little less congested in the frame here. So we're just gonna be focusing on axial rotation. So first we're gonna find this flexed leg position, flexed thigh position, and we're just gonna sweep the leg across our body as far as it can go. You're not trying to look like me. You are trying to go as far as you can possibly go in this rotation. And there should be no pain or pinching. If there is, you need to back off a little bit and make your movement smaller. Now we flex through the core and we sweep. Now we try to go the other way. Again, we're trying to keep the rotation clean in the thigh. We're not trying to hike the hip up. It's just hip joint movement. So just as far as it lets us go. And then we immediately switch to go back across the body. We hold this for a second, building tension, feeling feels in this lovely hip stuff. And then we flip back the other way. We feel some crampies up here, we flirt with them, we try to make them cleaner if possible. And then we're gonna sweep one more time across the body, hold that for a second, and then we relax there. And then we switch and do all this on the other side. Standing on the right leg, right butt cheek should be fairly tight. Left knee is up now, and we're gonna rotate, sweeping across the body. As we sweep here, we're trying to keep good, clean connection as best we can, flexing deeply through this hip stuff, and then we change and rotate the other way. Remember, we're not hiking the hip, it's just a hip joint spin. That's all we're going for. So it should be a little crampy, most likely. Work with the cramp, it shouldn't be painful, it might be uncomfortable, but it should not be painful. And then we switch directions again. We sweep across the body. Remember, you are fighting for your biggest range of motion. And then we flip back the other way. We spin the hip, we try to own that rotation. We flex deeply, we flirt with any cramps that we feel, we try not to let them take over. And we're gonna open this back up by pulling across the body, fight for that for a second, and relax. All right. So from here, it's hip capsule time. So now we're gonna take our chair, pull it over, have a seat here, and we're gonna shimmy to the edge of the seat. Now, depending on the height of your chair and what's going on with your hips, you may need to adjust to make sure this works out the right way. The biggest thing that we want as we do this is pain-free and zero pinching. So, what we should be able to do is take this right leg, or target leg, we're gonna walk the foot out a little bit, and now we should, hopefully, be able to push our knee down at this angle until we feel like a stretch that comes through the side of this hip. If there is any pain or pinching here at all, then maybe you don't walk your foot so far out. Maybe you start here. And if that's the case, that's fine, that's where you work. If that still hurts, maybe you start here. If your hip's so super locked up and you can't do that at all, then you're gonna start straight up and down, and then you're gonna follow the exact same cues that I give you. So you're just working with what you've got where you're at. So I'm gonna walk out to my end range of motion. I'm gonna pull my lower abs in, so all this is nice and tight, and my sit bones / butt bones do not shift at all. Now my hands go back to the outside of the knee, and I'm gonna push the knee down until I feel a stretch in the side of the hip. From here, we're gonna take 3 big deep breaths into the stretching stuff. So the side of the hip should be our target. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. Settle into that stretch, and again, inhale, exhale. Through the nose on the exhale. Inhale one more time. Exhale through the nose. And hopefully you felt that hip release and open just a little bit. Now, we're gonna retighten the core, make sure we haven't lost anything. And the first thing we're gonna do is actually flex into the left side. So we want the left side here to feel like a statue. Can't move, nice and strong. Now the right side is going to be our focus side. So we're going to start to very lightly open the right knee against our hands. And as we open the knee, we're blocking with the hands. So it's like our hands are a stone wall. As we're opening, we should feel tension come through the side of this hip. And we're going to flex into that. We're going to try to make the tissue work harder. We're going to try to think about using the deep stuff. And now, as the knee is still opening and their hands are blocking, we're now going to take this foot and we're going to think about the edge, the inside edge of our foot, trying to sweep down and across the ground. But that should happen in a way that it doesn't actually move because the ground blocks it. So now our hands are opening, or our knee is opening against our hands, and the foot is dragging down and into the ground. And as you do that, you should have a nice, strong feeling deep in the side of this hip. And that feeling is something that I want you guys to ramp up and try to take it to your safest, greatest effort, but do it slowly. So you are making sure your hip is nice and clean, taking your time to scan and make sure it's safe. As long as it's clean, you can crush it and work nice and hard. We're going to get up to like 50%, 60%, 70% effort, 80% effort, 90%. And if you're safe, you take it to your max possible effort. You're going to flex really hard and try to make that get deep. We're going to hold for another 2, 1. Now we freeze where we're at. Nothing moves. And now we attempt to just sweep the foot out farther. But chances are it's not going to move. It's just the intent of a direction change. So the ankle's attempting to lift and pull away from us. The thigh is still nice and still. And we're just going to do our best to own that effort. And it should come up into kind of the top of the hip. You might feel the side butt a little bit here. That's normal. And we're just going to try to own that. And as we're doing that, we're thinking about the thigh bone spinning to the inside as we work that effort. And we'll hold that for another 3, 2, 1. And then we relax. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And then we push that hip in. And we should get some opening. Sometimes it's 5 degrees. Sometimes it's 25 degrees. Sometimes it's like 1 degree. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all. So you work with what you got. You take a breath in. We take a breath out. And then we go through it again. So we brace the core. Our knee is going to open against the hands. We feel the outside of the hip activate. From there, since we know what we're doing, the foot immediately starts to drive down lightly. Nice and easy. We're going to ramp up these efforts, slowly talking deeper and deeper to the hip capsule, making sure everything is safe and clean. And we're going to do this for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. And now we keep the core tight. Again, we attempt to sweep the ankle out and away from us. The thigh doesn't move, but the ankle is attempting to go out and away. So we take the hands this time, and we're going to twist the meat of the thigh in, which should help tell the tissue what direction we want things to go, which should help us get just that little bit better connection. We're going to hold this for another 4, 3, keep flexing, 2, and 1. Again, we put the hands on the outside of the leg, we take a breath in, we take a breath out, and we should get just that little bit more opening of the hip. And this should feel like more of an outside hip stretch, which is what we want. We want to open up that space so the hip's not so congested. It gives it some room to kind of sit back in the socket. Now from here, we're going to make sure we're still on the edge of our seat. I'm going to scoot my chair back just a bit. And now we're going to put our hands underneath our thigh. If you're sitting in something tall enough where you can just rotate your leg like this, we can do that too, but you might need to lift a little. And now we're going to go back through some axial rotation. So we're going to sweep the leg out, similar to what we started with, is what we're doing here when we're standing. And then we sweep the leg in. We just take it as far as it lets us go. We use the hands, we tell the tissue how to fight, and then we go back out. We sweep, we rotate, we make things nice and clean, we fight for a little connection, and then we come back across. Squeeze the leg, fight for rotation, flex the hamstring, calf, ankle, everything, and then we sweep back out. Again, hamstring, calf, quad, hip, everything flexes, and relax.
I'm so sorry.
You're good.
I have to do this for Darcy.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Dude, oh my god, yeah, it's freaking you said today, you're gonna heat.
No wonder I'm literally sweating my ass off just sitting here.
It was on heat because of earlier, but Darcy's doing massages.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it's burning up in there.
Yeah, so I switched it to cool.
Cool. All right, now that we've completed this side, we will work on to the next side. So, same game. We scoot to the edge of our seat. We take our left leg now. We walk this foot out. And we make sure that we have good control of the hip. If you're like me, you'll have one hip that's better than the other. So one hip's gonna feel pinchy, maybe a little tight. One hip might feel really loosey-goosey. So just make sure you take the time on this to make sure you set it up right. So we walk the foot out till we think we're at our end range of motion. If you're not sure, just walk it out, tighten up the core, hands go on the outside of the leg, and we push in. As long as your push in doesn't produce any type of pain or pinching anywhere in the hip, you're in a good spot. But if it does, you might need to walk your foot farther in and back away from that range of motion. So just make sure you work from where it is safest for you. I'm gonna stay in my best position, which is right here. Just like the other side, we give a push and we breathe. Big breath in, exhale through the nose. Relax the hip. Big breath in, exhale through the nose, relax the hip. And one more time. Inhale, exhale, and relax the hip. It should open a little bit. Now our hands are going to stay blocked on the outside of our leg. The right leg is going to start to flex still so it doesn't move at all. And our lower abs get tight, so we're going to sniff in a little air, pack the core strong. And now the knee is going to start to open into the hands, but the hands block it like a stone wall. As we open the knee against the hands, we should feel some side butt stuff flex. And we're going to build up on that effort for just a second. And then we look at our left foot, we get to the edge of that foot, and then we try to drive the edge of the foot down and into the ground. So the knee is opening out, the ankle is driving in, and that should give some torque in the hip joint, and that should feel pretty deep in the socket. That we're going to keep working with for a nice, smooth, consistent effort, and we're going to keep slowly increasing our effort. And we're going to work to our safest, greatest effort, as hard as you can push with absolutely no pain, and we're going to make sure we keep this stuff as clean as possible. We flex deep, we keep fighting for more, and once about the time we think we got it completely maxed out, we fight just a second longer, and then we relax. We keep the core tight, and now we slowly change directions. Now it's just the effort of the ankle attempting to rotate out and away from us, but you should be in a position where it doesn't move. So now it's a brain game. You're trying to make tissue do stuff it hasn't done before. So we're fighting to pull the ankle out. We're fighting to own rotation. I'm getting cramps on the top of my hip, but that's okay. I'm gonna work with that and try to fight for more. I'm gonna own this cramp and not let it take over. And I'm teaching my body new tissue, new muscles, new stuff. And we're gonna keep holding for another 3, 2, 1, and relax. If you got that right, you should be able to push that knee in for more and open the hip a little deeper. Now, just because my hip does this, if you go to push your hip in more and you get a little pinch in the hip that you didn't have before, just relax, maybe walk the foot out a little bit more, and then push down so the thigh doesn't get as close to the midline of the body. That might open that up and keep it clean. From here, we take one breath in, one breath out. We brace the core, and then we start to open the knee against the hands again. We flex the abs, we keep it solid. The right leg is still strong and locked in place. And now we start to add in the foot. So the foot drives down and into the ground. The knee tries to open away against the hands, and we feel that nice deep torque go into the hip. It should feel deep in the backside / side of the hip. And we're gonna ramp this up. You should kind of know where you're working with on this one by now, so you should know about how hard is okay to push for your body. And remember, if you feel safe, you're gonna ramp it up and you're gonna push pretty hard. Flex the thigh, the knee, the ankle, the calf. Everything is working with you, nice and strong, fighting for more. For 3, 2, 1. We lock everything in. Now we're gonna grab the thigh, we're gonna twist the meat of the thigh, and then attempt to rotate that foot farther out as if the ankle's gonna lift up and away from us for more internal rotation. Twisting the tissue tells it where to go. We're flexing into the side butt stuff, trying to own that as best we can. 5, fight for more. 4, you got this. 3, 2, and 1. Take a breath in, out. Now we push the leg in one more time, and we should get just a little bit more opening of the hip joint. And we want to make sure that we haven't shifted our sit bones. My sit bones are still stuck on the chair. I haven't rotated, I haven't leaned. This is all hip joint stuff. And then we just make our way off of that nice and easy. And to wrap this up, we're going to take this leg again, just like we did on the other side. We're going to give it a little hold in the hands, and then we're going to go through some axials. So we think strong core, spinning in the hip joint as we sweep the leg across the body. And now for this one, let's use the hands. Let's twist the meat of that thigh and tell it where to go, because now we're trying to capture the new range of motion we opened up. So we're gonna fight, try to own it, and then we switch our hands, we spin the other way, we try to, again, make sure we're keeping good, clean control of our hip joint, fighting to own new workspace. We spin, going to the inside again, changing directions, again, fighting nice and hard here. It should feel like a struggle. It shouldn't really be easy. Lots of brain games here as we fight and flex for more, attempting to get more rotation, and then we slowly rotate and switch again. Big fight to the outside, own that nice and strong, flex deeply, and then we change directions one last time. We sweep the leg, we fight hard for rotation, and we finish up with an internal rotation to the outside. Big flex, big fight, own that hip. Flirt with the cramp, don't let it take you home, and we relax. Good. From here, we're gonna go back through the standing hip card, 1 rep on each side, nice and slow, and then we've completed our hip routine for today. So this time, for a challenge, if you feel comfortable, let's try to do this with no PVC pipes. If you're not comfortable with your balance, by all means hang on to something. I'm gonna do this with no PVC pipes, because I like to challenge the body and this is always fun. So we're gonna start down low this time, standing on the right leg using the left leg. So my knee is bent to 90 degrees, almost like a hamstring curl. And now I'm gonna pull this knee straight up in front of me as high as it will go for me. You are going as high as you can go for you. Now from here, we sweep the ankle. This is different than what we did before, a little more precise. And now we're gonna peel the hip open. Big opening here, flex the side butt, hamstring curl, and then we're gonna attempt to flip and kick the foot back behind us, squeeze the butt, and then we squeeze the leg together. And then from here, we're gonna kick backwards again. We extend through the hip, we hike the leg out to the side, ankle goes underneath as we try to keep good control of this rotation, and we lead with the ankle as it comes across, and then we come down. And we're going to do one more of these on the other side, just like we did. Standing on the left leg now, tight left butt cheek, right knee comes up. Core is tight, we're taking it as high as we can take it, so as high as you can take it yourself, pain-free. We sweep the ankle, flirt with in range of motion, flirt with a challenge. Peel the hip open nice and far. That side butt stuff should flex. We're gonna hamstring curl, and then we flip and kick our leg backwards. We kick back a little more, squeezing the butt, and then we crush the legs in and together. And give them a squeeze. Feel the inner thighs wake up. Almost done. We kick backwards. butt squeeze. Hike it out. Flirt with that hip cramp. Don't let it take over. Now the ankle slowly rotates underneath as we keep this as clean as we can. We keep leading with the ankle coming forward as we close the thigh across the body, and then we level out and step down. And that is our hip class for today. So this was about a 25-30 minute routine. I want you to play with this routine a couple days a week, especially if you're somebody with sticky hips. Take advantage of movement exploration. Take advantage of capsule specific movement. Play with exploring your body. Make stuff work nice. If any of this was painful, uncomfortable, pinchy, maybe you just got lost along the way and you weren't really sure what you were supposed to be doing, please, please, please reach out, ask me questions, and let's figure out what we can do to make this work better for you. Because remember, Kim Stretch is about improving and meeting ourselves where we're at. We're not competing with anybody else, and in this setting, it's just me and you. So we're trying to make sure you get the most out of your body so your joints can do the most they can possibly do, the safest potential and the safest capacities and the strongest capacities, so you can do whatever you want. So thank you for watching, guys. If you have any questions, like I said, please direct message me. Please let me know what's going on, email me, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Y'all have a great one.